Y'all, this is the most amount of research I've had to do for a video in a very long time. I actually rewrote this whole thing twice because as I kept going, the rules and stipulations kept changing. There are so many variables to consider what actually classifies as a win versus a loss, so let's figure that out first. What classifies as a win? A fight is considered a win if the opponent is either taken down, captured, knocked out, forced to retreat, forfeits, or reasonably defeated in the current situation long enough for it to count as a win. Obviously, a kill counts as well too. Some aliens may win through external means, notably upgrade, gray matter, and jury rig always being dependent on their environment, or other methods like heat blast using water to defeat the Limax, or Frankenstrike shoving Dr. Victor into a vortex. I'm still going to count these as wins because, well, they are. Power scaling is a factor, but it's not the only variable. Essentially, it must be Ben's choice that a battle is over. More or less. In that regard, a fight counts as a loss if the battle is over against Ben's will, or Ben is straight up defeated. Now here's what's really important to consider. It's gonna save y'all a lot of lengthy comments, so make sure you lock this in right now. There are going to be situations where you can justify Ben losing a fight. Ben could have been holding back, he could have gotten distracted, a new obstacle was introduced, his Omnitrix timed out, yep, that's gonna happen a lot, he was teleported away, and so on. These are all very understandable reasons for losing a fight, because it doesn't necessarily mean that Ben lost the fight because he was strictly incapable of winning. However, if Ben starts a fight and he doesn't meet any of the win requirements, it still counts as a loss. For example, while he did have the upper hand on Kane North as Wildvine, he still timed out before he could truly defeat him. That loss doesn't mean that Kane actually beat Wildvine, but Wildvine was unable to win the battle in the allotted time, which I think is fair to evaluate because there's plenty of times where Ben has won a fight in the allotted time. So if Ben can't beat the opponent before the Omnitrix times out, it still counts as a loss. Another example of a justifiable loss, but a loss nonetheless, is when Swampfire confronted Zombozo, Charmcaster, and Volcanus, and they escaped before they could either be captured or detained. This doesn't mean the gang completely whooped Swampfire's ass, but Swampfire was unable to win this fight effectively and the villains got away, so I cannot give him this win. It's also worth clarifying that we're classifying each alien's isolated efforts, and not necessarily the entire fight as a whole. So for example, Ben came out on top during his fight with the Galactic Gladiator, but this would only count as a win for Alien X, as Ben first lost the fight as Forearms and then Eye Guy. So this whole fight gives Ben 2 losses and 1 win, each alien counting as its own win-loss. Each alien's win-loss ratio is scaled only to themselves, not the battle as a whole. So yes, this means that if an opponent forces Ben to change into another alien, be it the current alien isn't effective enough, or he's genuinely being harmed, then that counts as a loss for that alien as they couldn't complete the battle on their own. Ben must also be able to win the fight on his own, within reason. On one hand, while Sunny did execute the final blow against the robots from Dimension 12, Forearms was still doing just fine without her, and it's believable he would have won anyways without her help, so this would still count as a valid win for Forearms. On the other hand, while Ballweevil and the gang did ultimately defeat Luma during the battle in front of Ben's house, he wouldn't have been able to win unless Rook and Esther freed him first, and Julie striking the final blow, so this would count as a loss for Ballweevil. Same with Diamond Head against Future Vilgax. The 2 Bens may have come out on top, but it was all thanks to Future Arctiguana, so that is not a win for Diamond Head. There are also some genuine ties that can happen during a fight, but they are incredibly rare, as most of the time, what may seem like a tie is actually just the villain getting away before Ben could defeat them, which I'd say should count as a loss instead. But on the ultra rare occasion a tie does actually happen, then I won't bring it up on the scoring sheet. I'm looking for results, not inconclusive data. So any battles not mentioned here, you can assume was a tie or just not worth bringing up. I am only talking about the true wins or losses. So as I was developing the script, I didn't find it fair that an alien's success or failures would be solely judged on combat alone, as more often than not, Ben has successfully saved the day through non-combative means, so I will be creating a second category called the mission success rate. Bear with me here, I will try to keep this as simple as I can. So what counts as a fight versus a mission? Well again, there's countless contributing variables we can spend hours debating, but for me, it essentially comes down to if the stakes are purely based on the brawl itself, or if Ben is completing a task. Yes, there will be overlap, but for each scenario, I have to choose one. Some of these are going to be very clear, like Heat Blast melting down the metal to build a barrier is a mission, not a fight. But then there's some with a bit of nuance. For example, while Blitzwolfer did throw some hands with the Loboan, his objective was to restrain the Loboan long enough for them to try the pendant. So I'd say this is more about the mission than an actual battle. Same with Upgrade preventing an ATM robbery, and Jet Ray destroying some alien trucks. This also allows me to separate some non-combative wins from the general mission. While Ripjaws was able to defeat one of the Mechaneers, giving him a fight win, he was unable to stop the other from capturing Patalidae, giving him a mission failure. And just like fights, there could be many reasons why Ben would fail a mission that is outside his control. But at the end of the day, if he tries to complete a task and he is prevented from doing so, then this results in a mission failure no matter how you look at it. It doesn't matter that Jet Ray chose to save Tyler over preventing the DNA alien stealing the oscillator key. They still stole the key, so the mission failed. For missions, unlike fights, sometimes an assist may count as a mission success even if Ben couldn't complete the task on its own. But again, it depends. NRG wouldn't have been able to seal away the Lacubra by himself, but he was still vital in helping Gwen pull this off, so that's a mission success. On the contrary, even though both Wildmutt and Lucky Girl were trying to save civilians, and the civilians indeed got saved, he was trying to do it on his own and didn't want Lucky Girl's help. So for Wildmutt's objective, this would be a mission failure. I know, it gets really nitpicky. That's why this video took friggin' forever. So I'm gonna take a step back and refresh. Just to recap and make sure we're all on the same page, let's take this scene from the Alliance. Forearms first battles Rojo and her gang. He clearly has the upper hand, but once he realizes who he's fighting, he forfeits the fight, counting as a loss. Then, Vilgax's drones arrive, which is a completely separate event from whatever Rojo's doing. So this counts as a new fight, which Forearms easily wins. Then, after Grandpa Max is injured, Forearms successfully brings him to the hospital. This gives Forearms 1 loss, 1 win, and 1 mission success. In a similar example, while Gravitac was fighting Atea, 66, 77, and 88, he was fighting them all at the same time, as the opponents were acting like a team, so this would all count as 1 collective win. While Rojo and the drones, they had nothing to do with each other, so their fights are counted separately. Are you still following me? Good, because I just got a quick few things left. Trust me, I know it's a lot, but I only want to have to make this video once, you know? I'm trying my best to get this right off rip. Okay, final factors. It must be Ben Prime doing the work for it to count. No alternative Bens, future Bens, or other Omnitrix users. Timelines that did technically happen but then got erased can count, but timelines that were never connected in the first place do not. Neither do dream sequences either. And yes, maybe I'll do one for the reboot when I've seen all of it, but right now I just don't know enough to even try. I'm not counting any neutral situations either, like training, as there's no real stakes involved or tasks needing to be required other than the training itself. And like if Ben fails a training exercise, it is training after all, so I don't think that should be held against him. He still successfully completed the training every time he trains, even if his skills aren't all there yet, so it's just not worth bringing up to me. Now, a situation only counts if Ben made an honest effort in the moment to either save the day or win a fight. If he's stopped before he can even fight, then it doesn't count. But if Ben actually starts the fight but then gets interrupted, it still counts. And there are some scenarios where it's just way too trivial to count, like Spider Monkey appearing for a quick second to kick Darkstar. I'm not gonna bring stuff like that up either. But the quickness isn't what makes it doesn't count, because there are some very quick scenarios that could count. Like Forearms briefly clowning on these incursions, I would still give him that win. You see what I mean by nuance? Casual Omnitrix uses will be evaluated case by case, as there are some arguable slices of productivity and skills worth evaluating. Like Brainstorm successfully playing golf, I'd say that requires a fair amount of skill, and it's a task he could potentially fail. Or Wildmutt pulling a hoe. But completely inconsequential scenarios, like Accelerate racing down a hill on a block of ice, or Stinkfly spitting goo into Gwen's ice cream aren't worth including. It needs to contain a reasonably impressive feat or a notable involvement of skill for me to include it on this list. However, there are a lot of nuances for scenes like this in all of these rules, so please feel free to share any concerns or stipulations down in the comments below. And if there's anything worth reevaluating, I will add it to the pinned comment. So make sure to check that out after the video's done if there's any additional things I need to say. This goes for any concerns over wins, losses, mission executions, or failures. Please feel free to speak up. I am interested in hearing what you might have to say. But again, this video was a nightmare to make. I do not want to have to do it again. Anyways, I think that covers just about everything that I need to about the rules. But before we begin, have you been watching our series Freeze Frame? I was just in the last 2 episodes about Dispatch and the Naruto and TMNT crossover. If you haven't seen them yet and you want the best viewing experience, you gotta watch it on Opera. Why? Because Opera's been changing the web browser game and you're not gonna want to miss out. It's super easy to install and you can have it ready to go before this ad is even over. I'm serious, click it down below. It has a great video pop-out feature which is really useful when writing scripts. I can just watch something alongside my Google Doc and take notes, or even use it for fun like keeping up with my favorite shows while gaming. I do a lot of our editing, so its various multi-tab features are key for organizing. I can have my script, sound effects bank, and stock footage footage all displayed at the same time, which speeds up my productivity. And while the grid layout is solid and probably the most familiar, you can swap it to horizontal or vertical layouts too, which is great for making lists or viewing charts in more comfortable ways. When it's time to send the video draft off, I can use the sidebar to click on the Google Calendar to schedule a meeting to review the next project. Using the sidebar for Google services makes the web browser less cluttered, and I love how easy it is to use. But hey, having tabs isn't all that bad. You gotta stay organized, right? So you can use tab islands to group together multiple windows and categorize them by title and color. Yeah, I got a lot of tabs open all the time, we're all guilty of it, sue me. But you can have a category based on videos you want to watch when you have time, a category for alien conspiracy theories, a category for websites about frogs, whatever you'd like, and you can expand or collapse them to your leisure. Alright, by now you should already have Opera installed. See, I told you it'd be quick. So have fun checking out its other great features like customizable themes and their music plugins. And if you still haven't installed Opera, just click that link down below, it's free. Hope y'all have fun. Now let's check out our first alien on today's list. Let's start with the first alien ever used, Heat Blast. For Battles 1, Heat Blast has defeated Rojo, Clancy, Vilgax's drones, Sam, Hex, Mr. and Mrs. Man, Dr. Animo's Bug, Dr. Victor, and Tetrax 23 and 6623. He's lost to Pirate Knight Kevin, although he was severely caught off guard, Cyborg Vilgax, the Great One, Null Guardians, Xylene, the Retaliator, the Alien Force, Vilcubra, Malware, Crabdozer again, Crabdozer a third time, Munya, and Kyber. He's had a pretty high successful mission rate by countering a forest fire with his own flames, even though he started it in the first place, rescued civilians from a burning building, caught some robbers, stopped the Limax, prevented a train crash, trapped the Megawatts, stopped the landslide, escaped Vilgax's ship, won the best Loogie contest, saved Able North. Although the danger was fake, he still successfully absorbed all the fire, forged a barrier, rescued Gwen and Max, stopped Dr. Animo's machine. It may have damaged the Omnitrix, but he still stopped the machine, flew himself home, unfroze himself, chased and apprehended Corvo, stopped a runaway wooden bell, flew back to the proto-truck, and saved Pacmar from drowning, even though it was his fault in the first place. Heat Blast has never completely failed any missions, but with his track record, pretty solid start for the aliens so far. Now let's move on to everyone's favorite intergalactic canine, Wild Mutt. Wild Mutt has won against the Mecha Droids, some magic farm equipment, Dr. Animo's prairie dog and security drones, the Twin Knights, and Subdora. Wild Mutt had lost against the Limax, Zombozo and the Circus Freaks, Cyborg Vilgax, the Great One, Mechamorph Kevin, Sentient Plants, Charmcaster, Bug Lizard, and some hypnotized old people. While he struggled against the Limax, he still helped Gwen escape, saved a runaway car, evaded some Null Guardians, tricked the Jingulator guards, pulled a hoe, found the Resolute's intruder, found Animo, found Bradley, found the Screegit, found the correct whistling sound to counter Kyber, participated in a charity event, retrieved some scavenger hunt coordinates, broke free from Dr. Animo's capture, deduced Zombozo's escape, and defended No Watch Ben. However, he failed to save some construction workers, as Lucky Girl got to him first, and he was trying to one-up her, rescue Mrs. Leanne, sweet-talk some Volpomancers, find useful evidence against the Forever Knights, get the Rust Bucket 3 unstuck from the time barrier, and find Fistrick. Wildmutt's pretty good with his missions, but he's not the best fighter. Still, he's a very useful alien. Moving on to Gray Matter, he was really fun to evaluate, because he does have some genuine fights while other stuff is treated like obstacles. I did my best to categorize them accurately, but given Gray Matter is a very unique transformation, bear with me here. So Gray Matter has won against Crab and 6-6, an Old Guardian, some Mega Cruiser guards, a Shark, the Circus Freaks, Dr. Animo, and Tyrannopede. Surprisingly, Gray Matter has never lost a genuine fight. I'll elaborate in a second, but let's go through his missions first. He has successfully destroyed the Forever Knight's inventory, sent Phil to the Null Void, disabled the Mega Cruiser's prisoner's shock implants, break into the Forever Knight's safe, saved a man from drowning, evaded some Null Guardians, destroyed the Jingulator, stopped a robbery, won a Jelly Bean contest, evaded Zaskare and Victor long enough to build a Sun Gun, escaped the Retaliator, defended Rook from the Vreedles, repaired Pixie, and fixed Ben 23's Omnitrix. On the other hand, he failed to find a Golden Sumo Slammer card, properly escape Howl's house, and fix the Rust Bucket's AC unit. So yeah, surprisingly, Gray Matter's never lost a fight. He either won using his smarts or his environment, or successfully evaded long enough to escape. And I mean, the dude punches a shark in the eye. Gray Matter really has been in some actual fights. And he's a lot more successful with his missions than he failed. Let's speed our way on over to Accelerate. Accelerate has won against some arcade bullies, Hex, the Nutcrackers, some Corodium cows, Sam, Enoch and the Forever Knights, Hypnotized guards, Festina, 6623, and Away Bad. Although he had lost fights against Rojo, Cyborg Vilgax, a Wixillian Orc Beast, the Great One, Volcanus and 66, the Mummy, Exoskull, Dr. Victor, Luma, Stabilized Malware, Eon, and Siphon's Thugs, though he did get a few good hits in, but he didn't take any of them out and they escaped. And finally, Kevin. But Accelerate has had a lot of success where he packed up the Rust Bucket, got revenge on Cash and JT, rescued civilians civilians from the Kraken, returned everyone home who was captured by the Limax, evaded some Null Guardians, saved the falling museum attendees, collected chicken eggs, saved the music festival attendees, cheated at baseball, got revenge on Cash and JT again, cleaned the road crew tech off the rust bucket, rescued Dr. Holiday, won a game of street hockey, disabled 6623's bomb, retrieved an old shirt, saved some civilians and captured Kangaroo Commando, carried Mr. Bauman, found Mauve Riedel, and found the Sky Temple's path. But Accelerate failed to stop the Kraken from stealing her eggs, though this ended up being a good thing, rescue Max from the mycelium, and research Hex's library. Accelerate's win-loss ratio is pretty even. He's barely failed any missions, but looking at his track record, it's clear why he's a fan favorite. Alright, now it's time for the big man himself, 4 Arms. He's won fights against Dr. Animo's reanimated mammoth, Tetramand Kevin, Vilgax's drones, Hex and his gargoyle army, Vilgax's drones again, various Kevin mutations, a Mayan god, though the god does get back up later on, he kept him down for a pretty fair amount of time, some baseball robots, the immovable object, Porcupine and Gator Boy, Serpent, some Forever Knights, Dimension 12 robots, Inspector 13, Esoterica, Luma, some incursions, and Benevolon. Though get ready for this, 4 Arms has lost against Rojo. Again, he hesitated, but he did not defeat her. The Great One, Technorg, Volcanus and 6-6, Zascare. He was handling the Circus Freaks pretty well, but he forfeited the fight when he took over Gwen. Ishiyama, though he was holding back again. Sam, the Mecha Droid, the -10, the Xenon Florana, the Retaliator, a Yeti, Ultimate Greg, Kolar, Alpha, Malware, Stabilized Malware, Trombipular, Negative Ultimate Spider Monkey, the Vriedel Brothers, they got away while he was distracted, Sir Morton, Luma, surprisingly, the Galactic Gladiator, and Exo Skull. But 4 Arms was successful in bringing Max to the hospital. He saved the museum attendees, saved Mrs. Leanne from bugs, stopped a falling building, saved Gwen and Max from falling into a pit, evaded some Null Guardians, caught a bus full of old people, saved the kids on the exploding roller coaster, ran from the cops, won tug of war, hung up the hands of Armageddon, break open the Rust Bucket 3, helped out Tak, and retrieved some buried items from a grave. However, 4 Arms failed to rescue Gwen from the Florana, save Gwen from getting captured by a mutant bird, milk some cows, obtain a map piece and stop Ultimate Greg again, help Grandpa clean the Rust Bucket 2. Yeah, he carried a bunch of boxes, but he still fucking spilled everything on the floor. Break out of jail, pull Excalibur, and remove Young One's tail. 4 Arms lost a lot more than he won, though all of his losses are against fairly formidable opponents. Either that or he's just not paying enough attention. I still say 4 Arms is pretty great, but let's get hard for Diamond Head, huh? I'm not scripting any of these intros, I'm just riffing. Fuck it, I'm leaving it in. Diamond Head has won against a giant mecha droid, the Mega Cruiser fighting robot, some Squire robots, the Salty Sludge Puppy, Warlord Vilgax, some failsafe antibodies, Slam Worm, Stabilized Malware, Captain Cork, some Plumber robots, Time Walker Vilgax, and Volcanus. But Diamond Head has lost against Tetrax, Cyborg Vilgax, the Great One, Pyronite Kevin, the Mummy, Dr. Animo and his mutant bat, Mind Control Kevin, Ragnarok, the Ultimates, Rex, Alpha, Stabilized Alpha, Darkstar, Eon, Negative Ultimate Humongosaur, and Malgax. Diamond Head was successful enough to stop a robbery, evade capture by Sact, dug a hole to find Corrodium, stop the Rust Bucket from crashing, survived a fall from space, revived the Petrosapiens, delivered the Grackle Flint, stopped a gas truck, and minimized Clyde 5's damage. But Diamond Head failed to catch up to some criminals. Luckily, Charmcaster Gwen got to them, fixed the Rust Bucket, and free Max from the hybrid failsafe. Diamond Head seemed to lose more than win at first, but by Omniverse, he won practically every fight he was in, so I think he's the perfect alien to show Ben's growth and skills evolve over the years. Whoever smelt it dealt it must be Stinkfly. Stinkfly won a shockingly small amount of genuine fights, but he won against a mutant parrot, Vilgax's drones, and some magic plants. But Stinkfly lost against Cyborg Vilgax, the Great One's followers, future Dr. Animo. He was forced to lose by his older self, but let's be real, he wouldn't have won that fight anyway. Evil Waybig, Charmcaster, the Retaliator, Ultimate Greg, a Megawatt, Bug Lizard, Tarantula Phil, and Bug Lizard again. But fights aside, Stinkfly has had a ton of successful missions. He saved Gwen from falling, destroyed Dr. Animo's transmodulator, rescued Captain Shaw, ran from the cops, saved a truck driver from a fire, rescued Gwen and Max, distributed some foot powder, evaded some Null Guardians, stopped a helicopter from crashing, saved Gwen and Eddie from drowning, saved an old man from drowning, put out a fire, pulled Santa's sleigh, caught some escaped prisoners, caught some robbers, and participated in a charity event. However, he failed to transport Gwen and Max the entire way to the temple. Yeah, it's due to the Omnitrix timing out, but I mean, if he was fast enough, this wouldn't be a problem, so. The same goes for spying on Abel North undetected. He timed out and got caught. But like I said in the rules, the point of the matter is there's a mission. If you don't complete the mission, then the mission fails. Sorry, Stinkfly. It is surprising how little Stinkfly actually fights, but with such a high mission success rate, who really cares? Stinkfly's an OG. Now we're on to Ripjaws, our first pretty small list due to his minimal appearances, but let's get through him. Ripjaws has won against Jonah Menville, some crooks, some cyber squids, a Mechaneer, and Volcanus. He has lost against the Great One and the Road Crew. He was successful in returning the Kraken's eggs, convincing the Kraken to spare Jonah, caught the falling old man, and freed Kevin from drowning. But he failed to catch a fish, go figure, or stop Ptolemy from getting captured. Ripjaws is a pretty cool alien who is severely underutilized by his dependency on water, and looking at his wins, they really aren't that impressive. Maybe he'll get justice someday if Dynamite Ben unlocks him in his arsenal. Moving on to Upgrade, one of my favorites. Upgrade has won against the Circus Freaks, Rojo, Vilgax's drones, some virtual robo-slammers, Kenko, the Mummy, a mutant sea monster, a fully automated urban assault vehicle, Auto Gestalt, and Zombie Clown Rook. Upgrade has lost against a Megawatt, the Great One, Future Vilgax, the Retaliator, and Alpha Omega. Upgrade was successful in stopping an ATM robbery, as well as another thief. He freed the Mega Cruiser prisoners, piloted a submarine, flew into space, and apprehended Rojo. But he failed to capture the Road Crew, stop Dr. Animo's prison escape, or fully prevent Kundo's meddling. I would have expected Upgrade to have more missions than fights, but it looks like this blob of tech really knows how to throw hands. Good for him. Moving on to Ghost Freak, who is very popular but also has a very small amount of appearances. Ghost Freak has won against Zombozo, Vilgax's drones, and the zombie. Ghost Freak lost against Crab, the Great One, the Ultimates, Siphon, and Charmcaster. He was successful in sneaking into a video game test room, though he was later caught in human form. This isn't on Ghost Freak. He allowed Zaskare to defeat Vilgax and then regain control when the opportunity strikes, a very risky move, but he's right, it did work. He forced Michael to reverse a spell by possessing him and save some civilians. However, he failed to possess and impersonate Mauve Riedel. Though Ghost Freak was successful against the Circus Trio and Warlord Vilgax, both of those was with Zaskare in control, so I can't give Ben that win. And judging by his losses, it looks like just about everything cool about Ghost Freak came from Zaskare. Makes you think, doesn't it? Alright, our first additional alien, Cannonbolt. Cannonbolt was the first to win against the Great One. He also beat Kevin 11, Charmcaster, the Laboan, Kenko's minions, some DN aliens, Serpent, rock monsters, and Atea 6677 and 88 all at once. But Cannonbolt lost to Future Vilgax, the Halloween Trio, Hex, Warlord Vilgax, the Stalker, Victor Validus, Dr. Animo's mutant frogs, Festina, Liam, and Bubble Helmet, stabilized malware, and Festina again. But Cannonbolt prevented Volcanus and 66's plan, he saved Gilbert, he saved Gwen and Max from crashing into Earth, evaded some Null Guardians, stopped a crashing truck and put out the fire, broke into Asmith's lab, escaped the collapsing temple, saved Rex from crashing into Earth, secured the Omega-1 nanite, defended the proto-truck, saved Rook, exposed the Vengers, he apprehended Roy, although it was unnecessary, and protected the plumbers from the launch. The only thing he really failed at was capturing Volcanus. Cannonbolt's a very brute force kind of alien, but clearly effective. Cannonbolt's one for the books. Keep rolling on, my dude. Time for my favorite Sativa superhero, Wildvine, who has never actually won a real fight. His losing streak started in his very first appearance, where he could not defeat the Mycelium. He then lost to the Loboan, and then Kane North. Both scenarios he had a good advantage, but he timed out before he could really do anything. Eon, Cthulhu, who I'm counting because he got away unharmed while Ben was distracted, and finally Kundo. But despite his fight track record, he's had a lot of successful missions. He freed Max from the Mycelium. He saved Max and Gwen from falling. This seems to be a recurring thing, huh? Destroyed the charms of Bazel, evaded some Null Guardians, stopped Sublimino, saved Wes and Max from falling, rescued Tim Dean, fed some pigs, spied on Max and Xylene, stopped a falling platform, and went undercover to infiltrate Fistrix's gang. He did eventually blow his cover, but he completed several successful infiltrations first, so I'd call that a win. So Wildvine may have never won a fight, but he's also never failed a mission, so he's a useful slot in the arsenal. Don't go picking fights with this weed. Now, Spitter was never used by present-day Ben, so moving on. We got old Kelly Belly's favorite alien here, Buzzshock, zapping at you live. Buzzshock won against 66. Good for him, buddy. Though he lost to Terrorantula Phil, 7-7, and then later Sumungasaur and Liam. He did successfully free the Megawatts and send Phil back to the Null Void, but he failed to remove Young One's tail. Pretty well-rounded set here. Not bad for this alien. Ben could have used a little bit more experience with him, and he probably would have won a lot more than we're seeing here. But who has even less appearances now is Arcticuana, so let's run through him real quick. Arcticuana won against some of Eon's robot servants, but he lost against Eon himself, as well as Deefus Veeblepister, like a fucking chump. And then he successfully stopped a wave of lava from progressing. For being a playable character in the Omniverse video game, I feel like they were gonna use him more, but they ended up just not, so that's kind of disappointing. But now moving on to Blitzwolfer. Best name ever, yeah, who never won a fight. As he ended up losing against the Red Knight and the Jungle Guardian. He ended up needing Skirt's help to finally defeat him, but that's not really Blitzwolfer's win. But he was successful in restraining the Laboan, he helped Max and Wes cross a lava river, he saved Kai from falling, and he intimidated Nancy Chan. Man, I wish he was used a lot more, you know? But I guess with such a stupid name, maybe it's for the best. Now it's time for good old buddy old friend of pal of mine, O.R. Ash's favorite alien, the Gastro Gummy Bear himself, Upchuck. Look at Look, Ryan, I said it, okay? I said it. Upchuck has won against the Mecha Droid, the Forever King, a magic sentient Mr. Smoothie mascot, a group of tigers, Crabdozer, Bro Rook, and Thunder Pig. Upchuck has lost against the Road Crew, which despite my criticism, it looks like nobody can touch them, goddamn. My Axe, the Forever Knights, and Ultimate Albedo. Upchuck was successful in recapturing Chromosome's Geno archetype, bringing Alpha to the Null Void, calming the arguing Gormans. He helped out moving Peptos 11, destroyed Dr. Animo's control over Mount Rushmore, and helped Kevin evade the Rooters. Though he did fail to destroy the hyperspace jump gate and play a game of soccer. He used a lot less than I remember. He's very prominent in the fandom and he did the whole subspecies thing, but yeah, not too many appearances for Upchuck here. Still in the realm of small appearances is the Wrapped Boy Snarrow, who also never won a real fight, losing to the Loboan and the Jungle Guardian. Though he was successful in saving himself from falling, recapturing the escaped Pyroxivores, he trapped Siphon and the Squid Monsters, and he saved Rook and Kai from falling. If you ever find yourself falling from the sky, make sure to call Ben Tennyson. He's got a whole watch full of people that can help you out. Now it's time for Zip Zip Frankenstrike, who's done a pretty good job. He won against Dr. Victor. I debated if this was a fight win or a mission win, but I think it's fair to argue this is a fight win. He did use his lightning to overpower him, but I mean, we can discuss this in the comments if you disagree. He won against the zombie clowns and the circus freaks, and a Techodon. Though he did lose against the Scare and the Mummy. They didn't take him out, but he couldn't really fight them either, and they kept swinging. He was successful in capturing Tarantula Phil and stopping a runaway car, and he failed to apprehend Rojo. It's really not too much to go off of here. He's pretty well-rounded, I guess. Also could have used a little bit more screen time. But now voted the cutest alien in Ben's arsenal in universe is Ditto. Ditto won against a mutant seagull, a mutant Leptodopteran army, and Dr. Animo, Mr. Beck and his henchmen, and some pretty boy Vreedles. He lost against Eon. He got pretty close, admittedly, but Eon still escaped without any harm, and then he lost to future Dr. Animo. He was successful in rescuing Mrs. Fang, but he failed to retrieve his captured clone at first, escape from the Penuncians, and apprehend Fistrick. Yeah, he's pretty cute, but he does find himself in a lot of trouble. Might not be the best choice, but he's entertaining. Now we got Eye Guy. And no, I will not be counting his appearance in The Secret of the Omnitrix movie. But Eye Guy still won against some rock monsters, Mad Rook, and a possessed Max. He lost against the -10. He was doing alright against some of them, but then he timed out and they were all pretty fine. Even after he froze Clancy, he was shown being fine like seconds later. He lost against the Grackleflint, Negative Ultimate Echo Echo, Dr. Animo and the Mutant Giraffe, Ultimate Albedo, and the Galactic Gladiator. But he was successful in stabilizing the Plumber HQ power core and tracking down Shalane. Yet he failed to locate Charmcaster. I didn't think he'd have this many losses. He's got such a versatile power set. Maybe Ben's just gotta get better at using him. Skill issue. And the last classic series alien, the big boy, Way Big. Way Big won against Cyborg Vilgax and the Robot Army, the Primus enhanced Warlord Vilgax, Gwen, Nanite controlled buildings, Trash Monster, Mutant Mosquito, and Trumbipulor. But he lost against Evil Way Big. He was doing really good, but ultimately couldn't defeat him before he timed out. Eon, Peanut enhanced Trumbipulor, Kaiju Malware, and some Waybads. But he was successful in destroying Wilharang's Stalker. He probably should have led with that. Stalemating the Ultimates. He stopped a billboard from crushing a crowded area, even though he broke the sign in the first place. Countered the Incursion Conquest Ray, and saved his team from falling. Wow. But he failed to destroy the hyperspace jump gate, unite the red and blue armies through his speech alone, and destroy the Hands of Armageddon. Alright, and now it's time for... It's my boy. It's no fun when it's expected. My boy Swampfire has won against Kevin, D and Aliens, Manny and Helen, 7-7. These friggin' bug things that I'm not gonna try pronouncing. Negative Humongosaur, D and Aliens again. The Hybrid Earth Commander, Ectonuri possessed Vilgaxians, Rock Monsters, Forever Knights, Sir Cyrus and Forever Knights, Arachnochip D and Aliens and Eunice, Magic Pumpkins, and a Mirrored Swampfire. Though he lost some battles against Negative Big Chill, a Hybrid, Ship, Dark Star, Warlord Vilgax, Zombozo Volcanus and Charmcaster, the Stalker, Plant Alien, Lacubra, Mutant Pterodactyls, and Alpha Room Charmcaster, along with Mutant Kevin. Swampfire was successful in destroying the Hybrid Weather Tower, pulling himself out of the Null Void portal, catching up to Paradox, though it's arguable Paradox let this happen, forced the Incursions to surrender, reattached Rainy's severed hand, protected Gwen and Kevin from the exploding teleporter pod, recaptured Goop's Geno archetype, captured the red and blue leaders, scared away some Volpomancers, freed Max from the Hybrid failsafe, defrosted Gwen, lit a campfire, broke into a dog pound, and protected Victoria. But Swampfire failed to prevent the Vreedles from stealing the Nalgia Destructor or capturing the Screegit. Bias aside, this is a pretty good track record looking at it here. The losses aren't too bad, and I'm still proud to call him my boy. But let's hop on over to Echo, 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 Echo. I don't got an opening bit for this one. He won against the Mechanical Dragon, Argit, a Dravik, DN Aliens, more DN Aliens, but over the phone this time. Even more DN Aliens, Primal Deca, Sunder, Helen, a Mutant Ant, Peanut Enhanced Trumbipular, and Thunderpig. He lost against Rhynie, since he really couldn't overpower him, though it's a good thing because they ended up being friends. Warlord Vilgax, Ultimate Kevin, Tekadon, and Negative Wrath. He was successful in destroying the Forever Knights' laser lances, located the teleporter pod, scaring away the Friedel brothers, used his powers to clone his human form 3 times, then merged his clones back together, destroyed the Null Void prisoner Sonic Collars, threw him into a lake, shattered Vilgax's tank, and then played tennis with Julie. But then he failed to sneak away from home, locate Gwen efficiently, or return Private Brown back to the correct tribe. Echo Echo's got a really solid streak. He never lost to somebody who wasn't pretty powerful. Dude's slapping around DN Aliens like nobody's business. Alright, this one took the longest because he had the most appearances, because fuck me, I guess. Here comes Humungosaur. Humungosaur won against some DN Aliens, some more DN Aliens, a Hybrid, Darkstar, DN Aliens and a Hybrid, Moly, some Perplexohedron guards, Warden Morg's robot guards, Volcanus, Forever Knights, some mutant frogs, Bradley, and then a combination of Trombipular, Tummyhead, Fistrick, the Vreedle, Sunder, Zombozo, Volcanus, and Festina all at once, which makes every loss he takes from this point forward seem fucking ridiculous. But the big jobber's losing streak starts with the Hybrid, Darkstar. Though this was before Humungosaur defeated him later in the episodes, he still won that first time. Negative Jetray, Tiny, though here he pretty much just gave up. Devoid, Warlord Vilgax, Sunder, the Hybrid Failsafe, the Nalgian Destructor, Warlord Vilgax again, Negative Ultimate Humungosaur, the Stalker. He did get some great hits in it though, but it was still Nanomech who got the win. Pandora's Goons, Ultimate Greg, although that scene was absolutely ballin' for a minute, am I right? Addy's Palarfang, Addy himself, the Triple Decker, Antonio, Sir George, Rex, Darkstar again, Vilcubra, Dagon Possessed Andonite Gwen, Tyrannopede, Trumbipular, Computron Robots, Luma, Tyrannopede again, Stabilized Malware because he had to go save some civilians, Upgraded Malware, Dwarf Star Enhanced Siphon, Serum Enhanced Chadwick, and finally Tyrannopede Kyber, although Skurd bailed him out. Humungosaur has had successful missions by stopping a Hybrid cruiser from crashing into the hospital. He saved some civilians. He threw a bomb into the sky and protected Julie. He threatened Sir George and Squire. He saved Hugo from the Time Vortex. He rescued Kevin on the Hybrid yacht, dragged the Oscillator Key across the desert, freed his team from the Hybrid prison, threatened the red and blue leaders, rizzed up Judge Domstall, freed himself from Sunder's net, convinced the Plumber's helpers he was defeated, scared away the paparazzi, defeated Captain Nemesis in a throwing contest, scared away some fish, which, even though he was drowning, it was the mission, disarmed Sir Cyrus, impressed Ms. Nocturne, broke into a barn, participated in a charity event, saved a bus full of kids, and restored the wooden bell. But he failed to prevent the DN Aliens from stealing the Oscillator Key, stop Greg from going ultimate, preserve Pakmar's truck, or pull Excalibur. Humungosaur is very fight heavy, and he lost more battles than he won, but he is Ben's go-to. He's made such a name for himself. Maybe if he grew a bit more, he'd win some of these fights. Alright, it's time for that fucking red thing, Jetray. He won against Alan, Negative Echo Echo, some DN Aliens, and Rad, and that's it. Then he ended up losing to Michael Morningstar, Verdona, who was barely even trying, a trans-dimensional Hugo, Negative Spider Monkey, Warlord Vilgax again, the Stalker, Pandor, Computron Minions, Ultimate Kevin, Mutant Frogs, Darkstar, and then Darkstar again. But don't get too sour of an opinion on him, because his mission success rate is fantastic. He tailed ship to save Julie, destroyed some DN Alien shipping trucks, saved Lou from falling. Hey, it's been a bit since we've heard that. Traveled to Gwen, Kevin, and Julie's location, saved Tyler from the DN Aliens, traveled to Gwen and Kevin's location, destroyed Volcanus's bomb, descended to the Red Troops, arrived to Julie's location, escaped the Volpomancers, traveled to Ogstaka, flew up to the top of the Hybrid failsafe, carried Gwen to the Forever Knights, traveled to confront Albedo, saved an airport pilot from falling, saved Gwen from falling, traveled to the Forever Knights, flew to another planet, destroyed the Hands of Armageddon, rendezvoused with Gwen and Kevin, and distributed the evolutionary cure to all of the chickens. However, Jetray failed to stop the DN Aliens from retrieving the Oscillator Key, though this was on purpose, but he still failed the mission. He couldn't destroy a giant asteroid, make friends with the Air Force, navigate through Ledger Domain, or catch up to Serpent. It was once stated that a big reason Jetray wasn't present in Omniverse was due to his large appearances in UAF, but looking at these stats, we really didn't get that much of him compared to some of the other aliens on this list. A good chunk of his screen time was simply cameos, traveling from one place to another. You take those out, and has he really been in the show that much? Not really. But you know who has? It's none other than Big Chill. Big Chill has won against Volcanus, DN Aliens, Dravik, Forever Knights, Crab, Zarkovians, Pterodactyls, Kyber, Terrarantula, Incursions, a single DN Alien, Milius, Zombie Zombie Clowns, and Exoskull and Subdora. Big Chill had lost against Warlord Vilgax, Primal Deca, Vulpamancers, Pickaxe Aliens, the Stalker, Galapagus, Pandor, McDilty Necrophagians, Ultimate Kevin, Mutant Frogs, Atecodon, the Esoterica, Mauve Riedel, and Hypnotic. He was successful in putting out some fires. A lot of flame extinguishers on this list too, as well as saving Gwen from falling. Followed Gwen and Kevin, who were pursuing Albedo, saved some teenagers from crashing their car, broke open a door, disabled Devoid's drilling machine, captured Moldy Warp, convinced the plumber helpers he was defeated, avoids Arcovian security, searched Area 51, escaped from Providence, saved Rex from falling, flew to the top of a skyscraper, freed Rook from Kyber's trap, resisted Hypnotic's hypnosis, even though later on for some reason he can't, sabotaged an incursion space pod, retrieved scavenger hunt coordinates, and evaded Blue Kitchen Dreba. However, Big Chill failed to retrieve the stolen rust bucket from Kevin, cool down Rhiney, though this was because Rhiney refused his help, pursue Ultimate Greg, prevent Dr. Victor from breaking free, break into the Tekadon factory, or escape the plumber prison cell. I like Big Chill. That's all I got. I like Big Chill. And now it's time for the big meme, Chromastone. He does take a lot of L's, but he's got a fair amount of wins too. Let's go over those real quick. He won against a zombie schoolgirl, Tekadon Enhanced Cash, some DNA Aliens, some Null Guardians, some DNA Aliens again, and some Scrutins. Okay, yeah, these wins aren't all that hot. He lost against the Dragon, Devoid, Warlord Vilgax, Bivalvin, Gwen, and the Dagon. But he was successful in freeing himself from negative Spider Monkey's web, stealing the Moonbase Power Crystal, protecting Tiny. He broke into a truck and then patrolled Bellwood and then flew to Gwen and Kevin's location. He then failed to stop Charmcaster's Soul Catcher and breached the Contumelia's extra-dimensional field. I really thought he appeared more than this, though he did spend half of Alien Force dead and was only used twice in Omniverse, so I guess it tracks. Now the Cranial Crab Brainstorm, let's take a look at this guy. He won against Ship, Negative Big Chill, Strabismus, I bet you didn't know he had a name, and the Vengers. Brainstorm lost against Negative Echo, Devoid, Sunder, Greg, and the Ultimates. But he was successful in outshowing Kevin, saving Helen and Manny from Null Guardians and Devoid, piloted a ship to Ogstaka, recaptured Spider Monkey's Geno archetype, rounded up the Pyroxivores, freed Bazel, played golf, and participated in a charity event. It always seemed like Brainstorm's intelligence was just a secondary factor. Unlike Gray Matter, he never really did anything that involved being smart, unless you count taking out the Vengers, but I would have loved to see him do some actual smart stuff to justify why he's so intelligent. He's always just kind of thrown into some place and talking intelligently. Moving through the Alien Force playlist, we have Spider Monkey, who was able to whoop some ass against some DNA Aliens, Volcanus, couple basic criminals, Eon's Ninjas, and Incursions. But Spider Monkey lost to Verdona, the Blue Army, Sunder, the Nalgian Destructor, Bivalvin, the Stalker, Siphon, Ultimate Kevin, Sunder again, Mazaru, Crabdozer, and Atea. My dude got spanked. He was successful in replacing the Dragon's Broken Translator, controlling the Spring Break Mayhem, he saved Kevin from burning an acid, broke into Hoaxstar's Emporium, also participated in that charity event, rescued Queen Rumpletum, and carried No Watch Ben to Lost Soledad. Yet he failed to stop a Forever Night robbery or fix an elevator. I don't know why he tried, but you know, he failed. That's about it for Spider Monkey. Seems like he had a lot of potential, but just couldn't really make that big of an impact. Now we got a guilty pleasure of mine, Goop. Well, not really guilty pleasure, it's just like, I don't know, he's not that cool, I get it, but I like him. Goop won against the Tekadon, Prior Galil, DNA Aliens, the Vriedel Brothers, Mr. Coleman, Pierce, Eon's Ninjas, and some Forever Knights. But he lost against Negative Humongosaur, the Rock Monster, which he got very close, but it still escaped. Overlord, since he had to forfeit to go save Julie. Victor Validus, a Tekadon, ironically. Peanut Enhanced Trumbipular, Ultimate Albedo, and Subdora and Exoskull. He was successful in helping Simeon escape. He saved himself from falling, twice, broke out of a cell, saved Julie from falling, escaped paparazzi, rebuilt a planet, broke out of jail, saved Gwen and Kevin from falling, broke into a hotel, and retrieved scavenger hunt coordinates. The only thing he really failed to do was escape Serpent's trap, but that trap was made specifically for him, so I get it. Goop's one of the more unique transformations, especially with the nature of his anti-gravity projector. I wish that was more of a factor too. You probably heard me riff about it in my breakdown, but that doesn't ruin this alien for me. But oh boy, everyone's favorite, Alien X, here we go. He won against the Galactic Gladiator, we all know that, and that's it. Never lost a fight either, and he successfully repaired a broken dam, rebuilt the universe, and resolved the Rooters battle. The only thing he failed to do was locate the Forge of Creation, but that's because Paradox stopped him. But yeah, I mean, he's done a lot, like, objectively, but it's still a pretty short list when you look at it. If you want a breakdown on everything he's done specifically, you should check out my 400k subscriber video, link down below. And now our first Alien Force additional Primordial Alien, we have Lodestar. Lodestar 1 fights against the Nalgian Destructor, Sir Urian's Toltec battle armor, some Greg bots, Forever Knights, the Mech Dragon, and Zombozo. He lost against Ragnarok, the Stalker, Rex, and some Forever Knights. He was successful in disarming the Red Army and ended up reasoning with them, and he rescued Jimmy, but he failed to capture and then confront Greg. Another unfortunate, underutilized alien that's gonna start becoming a recurring thing the further we go into this video, but that notion does not apply to Wrath, who has quite a bit of screen time. Let's mull through it right now. Wrath won battles against the Vriedel brothers, Volcanus and his Pickaxe aliens, Jarrett, Manny, Forever Knights, Rojo and her gang, 7-7, Atekadon, Esoterica, Poltroon, Tummyhead, and Exoskull. He did have help from Skirt, but in this case, I feel like he would have won anyways. Though he lost to Gwen, some Forever Knights, since he was on the phone with Gwen, Stabilized Alpha, some Mutant Ants, Kyber and Zed, Circus Freaks, and Mad Waybig. He was successful in saving the Tiffin from Sangfroid. He threatened Zauvinul to prevent future sacrificial babies, saved Diane Farrow from falling debris, and saved Madison from a fire. However, he failed to beat Captain Nemesis in a foot race, catch Bradley before he escaped, prevent the Flamekeeper Circle from escaping with their truck, save Madison's doll. That was really more of Gwen and Kevin being there. I don't think he would have done it if they didn't show up. Save Rook and Max from falling overboard, resist Nancy Chan's hypnosis, and remove Young One's tail. Wrath is a formidable fighter, and a scary fighter at that, but some of his losses and failed missions are pretty baffling when you look at them. It seems like stuff he should have been able to handle, but I guess that's what happens when you let your anger get the best of you. Here's a quick one. Nanomech. He won against the Stalker, some Incursions, and Mad Waybig. He lost against Gwen, and he was successful in freeing Rad and Pandora from Greg's control and escaping Plumber Prison, though he did fail to do this undetected. Not bad, not bad. Also could have shown up more, but whatever. Hey folks, I just wanted to let you know that 5 years later's final episode will be dropping this year, likely around June. That's when the trading cards ship out, and then that's it for the series. If you'd like to help 5whale reach its proper conclusion and check out some hours of behind the scenes footage over the years, this is the best time to join our Patreon and YouTube membership program. There's a lot of really cool rewards, and you'll be helping bring this stuff to life. Then when 5whale's done, we'll be using the funds to create some cool new stuff that we got lined up for you, so keep your eyes out for that. Moving on to the UA era, we have Water Hazard, who won fights against Overlord, Swamps, Atea, and an Ultimate Penuncian. He lost against Pandor, Victor Validus, Fridge, and Bug Lizard. He was successful in cooling off the Kinocelerin kids and putting out a fire, but he failed to take down an Incursion airship, prevent Albedo from obtaining his polymorphic crystal, or protect Pakmar's shop. A very quick one for the Wet Boy. Another quick one coming up is Amphibian, who has won fights against Seabic and Kraho, and that's his only real win. He lost against Terrorantula Phil, and then later Swift. Though he was successful when he bypassed the Piscus Valayan security. Can you believe this was his only legit appearance in UA? I'm serious, look it up. He protected the Screegit from Hoakstar and Solid Plug, and then apprehended Pax. Dude's in my top 10 alien playlist. You can check out that video down below, but unfortunately, he rarely has anything to show for it. He's fantastic in concept, but super underutilized in the show. Armadillo gets an okay amount of screen time. He won some fights against some Computron minions, some Forever Knights, Siphon's gang, Crabdozer, and then Crabdozer again. Seems to be a good counter for Heat Blast Predator, but he lost to Ultimate Kevin, Elena, some Lucubra slaves, Siphon, Slamworm, Slamworm again, Slamworm a third time, Luma, and then Zombozo, Fistrick, and Trumpipular. He was successful in intimidating his way into a showing of Ben 10 Live. He retrieved some scavenger hunt coordinates and broke into 13's hideout, but he failed to find the secret entrance to the Sky Temple. His first scene in Omniverse really started making me like him a lot. Another one for the Wasted Potential books, am I right? I hope you're turtly enough for the Turtle Club, cause here comes fucking Terraspin. He won fights against the Forever Knights, some Greg bots, some Arachnochimtian aliens, Mutant Seagulls, and Festina. He lost to Gwen, Inspector 13, Luma, some Chupacabras, and then Luma a second time. He was successful into breaking into Victor Validus's lab. Ben does a lot of trespassing too, it seems. He put out a fire. This too, I guess. This happens a lot. Help Young One land his ship and rescue Azimuth and his missing brain. But he failed to interrogate Bubble Helmet, though it was Rook's fault who blew this operation. Prevent Albedo from obtaining his polymorphic crystal. And finally, he couldn't remove Young One's tail. Ah, Terraspin. What more can I say? I miss you, buddy. You were fun to play as in Cosmic Destruction, I guess. And now it's time for the one that spawns the line that if I hear one more fucking time, I'm gonna lose it. NRG won a fight against Fridge, then later on Hugh and Swamps, and then finally the Incursions. He lost a battle against Ultimate Kevin, Gwen, Sunder, Trumpipular, though this was due to Argit, the Trash Monster, and then Zescare. So he did harm Zescare pretty effectively, but Zescare still got away and then was perfectly fine, so that's a loss to me. But he was successful in subduing a time-traveling Ben Tennyson. He helped Gwen seal away the Lucubra. He stopped the Kraho from flooding the Earth with lava, defended Galvin Mark II from space debris, and retrieved some scavenger hunt hunt coordinates. But he failed to catch Siphon's gang and calm down the public.
Energy is GOOD!
Fuck! Alright, now I gotta defend Fast Track. I love this man, but fucking, here we go. He won against some Esoterica, and that's actually pretty hard to do because they hop dimensions. Good for you, I love you, man. And his only real loss was against Sir George, which is acceptable. He was successful in saving Tak and Hulka from a bomb. He disarmed the Forever Knights, and he escaped from the Scrutins with Gwen and Kevin. Although he did fail to prevent Darkstar from opening the door to anywhere, or stop a missile from exploding. But in his defense, he did outrun the missile. It's not that he was slow enough, it's just like by the time he got there, like, what was he gonna do? You know, it's like, I mean, there's no winning here. Alright, yep, that's Fast Track for you. Moving on. Now we have Chameleon. I have one thing to say about him. He snuck into the Flamekeeper Circle's building. Good on you, buddy. Let's keep going. Edel. He won against the Magic Water Monster, and that's his only true fight win. Then he got friggin' spanked by Ascalon Vilgax, Tenbuster Nocturne, Vilcubra, Liam, and then Auto Gestalt. He then later failed to shut down Charmcaster's Soul Catcher, keep the nuclear fusion device away from the Kraho, or repair the 10-speed cycle. He had a massive glow up in Omniverse. If only they were able to do something with it. Now Clockwork. I like Clockwork. He's cool. He won against Eon. That's pretty hard to do, actually. Then he defeated some squid monsters, and then finally Mad Diamond Head. Though he did lose to Captain Nemesis, Luma, and then Maltruant, Exoskull, and Subdora, who got away. But he was successful in identifying Dr. Animo as the egg culprit, found the Flamekeeper Circle's location, chased the megawatts across the city, though they did let this happen, and found Maltruant's key. This, of course, being with Technobubble's help, and this turned out to be a bad thing, but hey, mission completed, am I right? And then later on, he failed to leave Mad Ben's dimension. In UA, Clockwork had such a cool rewind power. I really wish we got more of that. Give Ben some, like, detective storylines, or at least, like, some deduction, some CSI shit, I don't know. I feel like Omniverse made him very cool, but he wasn't an alien that needed to be cool. He was put in a lot more combative scenarios than necessary. I would have liked more of the time rewind stuff. Here we go. Jury rig time. Jury rig. What can I say? He won against some Mechaneers. Good boy. And then he lost to a rock monster, and then Mad Diamond Head. But he was useful when he repaired and repurposed Dr. Animo's mutant ray. He built the 10-speed, he broke through a door, he repurposed the hybrid pulse generator, and then turned a food truck into a cannon. But in his first ever appearance, he failed to catch a pterodactyl. Granted, that was because he didn't know how his powers worked, but still, mission failed. Jury rig, I gotta admit, he's got an interesting concept. Just more wasted potential, very heartbreaking. I think I could have came around to him if he did more cool stuff. Moving on to Shock Squatch, the only alien whose first appearance wasn't in the Ben 10 franchise. He won a fight against Alpha Forearms, Bug Lizard, Sunder, some Frankencryptids, Negative Echo, and then Yetta. He lost to Luma, Fistrick and his Muroids, Negative Ultimate Spider Monkey, Phil, Negative Ultimate Spider Monkey again, Exoskull, Charmcaster, and a Way Bad. He did successfully stop a robbery, but he couldn't capture a Chupacabra. I don't know, man. There's a lot of electric ones at this point. I don't really care. Oh, did you think I would forget about the Ultimates? Ultimate Humongosaur won against Antonio. That is his only real win. I'm serious. I'm so fucking serious. It's crazy. He lost against Pandora and his goons, Overlord, Addy and the Scrutins, Ultimate Kevin, Sir George, and then Darkstar. He never really went on any actual missions, so that's all there is to say about him. For Ultimate Alien's alleged poster child of the series, he loses quite a lot. Maybe they didn't realize they were writing so many L's, but on paper, this looks pretty bad for him. Ultimate Swampfire is not my boy, but I will go over him anyways. He won against some Gregbots, and then the Plant Alien. Whoop-de-doo. He lost to Giant Form Vilgax. Although Vilgax drowned and Ben got away, it's not like it was because of Ultimate Swampfire. The mind-controlled Andromeda 5, Ultimate Greg, the Churls and the Guardians, and then finally Eon. Wow, these Ultimates are not off to a great start. We have Ultimate who won a fight against Bivalvin, Sir Driscoll, Mazaru, and Hugh. He lost against Siphon, Sunder, and then Mauve Riedel and the Vriedel brothers. It was a cheap shot, but he still lost. He was successful in protecting himself from falling, but he failed to apprehend Albedo due to that DNA thing. Ultimate Spider Monkey, folks. Here you go. Next up, we got Ultimate Chester Cheetah. He won against Volcanus and the Pickaxe Aliens, then some Piscus Valayan guards, and then finally the Esoterica. But he lost to Galapagus, a possessed Dr. Victor, and a Tekadon. He was successful evading the paparazzi, and he couldn't catch up to Ultimate Greg. That's it for Ultimate Big Chill. I could have sworn he showed up more too. I guess not. Now we got Ultimate Cannonbolt. He won against Dr. Animo and his mutant frogs, but lost to Ultimate Greg and Sunder. But he successfully assisted Kevin with trapping Pandora. He showed up 4 times in Ultimate Alien. That's Not a lot. Now we got arguably the only really good ultimate, who is Ultimate Echo Echo. He won against some Necrophagians, a Cerebus, Ultimate Kevin, Trombipular, and Negative Wrath. He lost to a Tekadon and then Elena. He was successful in navigating the McDilty Temple, containing a nuclear bomb and destroying some missiles. His wins are pretty good. Nice job, buddy. Now we have Ultimate Wild Mutt, who won against Bradley and then the Esoterica. Straight W's, my guy. How could you hate Ultimate Wild Mutt? I was wrong. This is the best ultimate. Look at that friggin' win streak. Good shit, bro. You know who doesn't though? Ultimate Waypig. He lost to the Dagon. That's it. Moving on. Next up is one of my favorite things to come out of doing these kind of videos. It's Feedback. Feedback has won fights against a stabilized malware, Megawatts, Terrorantula Phil, Kaiju malware, VV Argost, Liam, Terrorantula Phil, Negative Ultimate Humungosaur, Terrorantula Phil again, Pretty Boys, and Maltruant. He lost fights against stabilized malware, upgraded malware again, although this time it was a true defeat, Dr. Victor and Sascare, Subdora and Exoskull, and a Time Beast. He was successful in stopping a robbery, saved some civilians from a burning building, and tracked down Liam. Only thing he failed to do was apprehend Fistrick. Doesn't it seem like he appeared more than this too? Maybe it's just because he's in the opening, I don't know. But now we got Blocks. His 2 victories are against Fistrick's thugs and some Dimension 12 robots. He ended up losing against the Grackleflint, Mauve Riedel, Negative Ultimate Humungosaur, Dr. Victor and Sascare, and Kundo. But he did successfully relocate a bomb, saved a train, contained the Screegit, defended his team from a Tetramand warship, extracted Amber Ogia, prevented Julie from walking away, as creepy as that was, defended Zack from Argos, protected Rook when ramming the side of a spaceship, captured Fistrick, saved Rook from falling back to Earth, and supplied water to the Mad World slaves. Blocks is more of a tool than a fighter, but it's a good thing that he's still in the arsenal, because he accomplished quite a amount in Omniverse. And now we're on to one of my favorites again, Gravitack, who won against Fistrick, then Atea 6677 and 88, Watson and Rookshar, and the Rooters. Unfortunately, that's about it. He lost against the Kraho, Negative Armadillo, and then Subdora and Exoskull. He did successfully help Max and Luli return to Galvin Mark II, but he did fail to peacefully resolve the Apoplexian-Lowoden conflict, although this was due to the Helix, or contain the Time Beast, which spawned his infamous black hole feat. Wasted potential. What more can I say? This guy's freaking awesome and didn't get used a lot. Alright, I'm gonna need everybody out of their seats and jumping up for Crash Hopper. He won fights against Siphon in the gang, Cthulhu, and Liam. He lost against the Mutant Ants, Mucilator, or Muculator, I'm gonna say Mucilator, but then Mucilator again, and then Mucilator a third time, Luma, Milius, Negative Ultimate Humungosaur, and then Fistrick, Corvo, and Solid Plug. He was successful in destroying the Quantumalia missiles, acting as bait for the Kraken, and scaring away the Muroids, but he couldn't catch up to Esther. Most of his wins came from later appearances, so he must have been one of the harder transformations to control at first. I hope you like getting sticky, because we got Ball Weevil. He won against Computron minions, Swift and Leander, and a Waybad. Wow. But he lost against Terrorantula and Kyber, Luma, Terrorantula, and Sunder. He was successful in escaping the mind-controlled Ravonaganders and evaded a Slamoid. But looking at the list right here, that's about it for Ball Weevil. Why don't you take a stroll with me with Walkatrout, who has not won or lost a single fight. He's just not a fighter. He did successfully evade Vaxasaurian Liam, but he did fail to escape the museum or flush himself down the toilet, as he needed Skirt's help to do so as he got stuck. This is the pure definition of a comedic-only alien. Though I'd still say he's worthy for the Omnitrix. I think we need more aliens like this to show the true nature of the Omnitrix is not just combat only. We got another one of my favorites who's also non-combative. We got Pesky Dust. He successfully interrogated Kyber and then forced Charles Zenith into submission. Fast Track Defender's been rising up lately. Where's my Pesky Dust Defenders? Come on, folks. He's pretty cool. I dig this one. But keep your razor blades away. We got Molstache coming through. He won against Young Vilgax, and while this was with Skirt, I'd still say Molstache would have had this one anyways, because the next feat he has, he lifts up a whole truck, and Young Vilgax really doesn't seem that strong to begin with. I think Molstache would have been fine either way. No losses, but he successfully prevented Fistrick from escaping. See, there's that truck thing. And he traveled across the Madland, so he can fly too. He showed up way too late in the game. I'm not a fan of his voice. I think that kind of joke is overdone, but the powers, they're unique. I think he could have had a couple more spots that would have been entertaining. Now we got a name that's a bit contradictory, because he's pretty cool. It's the worst. He beat Malice just by getting spanked so hard that Malice passed out. Can you imagine that? He lost to Exoskull, Subdora, and Maltruant, but that's just because they escaped. And he was successful into breaking into the Plumber HQ core room and aiding the Plumbers in taking down Siphon and the gang. Still, not a fan of the underwear design. Kind of crosses the line of ridiculousness, but in concept, I like the idea of him. He can stay. But now we got the cock. Get it? He won against Liam and then Fistrick and the Muroids, but he lost against Vivi Argost, Kevin, Kundo, the Vreedles, which he actually did really well against, but he still didn't take him down. The Rock Monsters, and then Charles Zenith. He was more successful in his missions by helping the Gormans escape. He broke into Inkarsicon, disarmed the Vreedle brothers TNT, played a game of soccer, subdued Hex, even though there was no real danger, and tricked Charmcaster into trapping herself. For Ben's alleged best hand-to-hand fighter, it's kind of in title only. This really doesn't prove anything. Bro makes me like forearms even more. Alright folks, it's pretty hot in Topeka because we got Topic. No fights here, but he was successful in scaring Siphon, scaring Zombozo, and then scaring Siphon and Argit. He's scary. Neat. Up in the sky, it's Astrodactyl. Great. He won against the Tekkenons, but lost to Dr. Psychobos, Siphon and his gang, and Collectimus. But he was successful in taking down the Incursion airships, escaped Kyber's hunting grounds, flew to Anor Transil, rescued No Watchben, and freed himself from some goo. But he failed to destroy all of the Amber Ogia, as Atea and Psychobos still got away with enough needed. Yup, still hate him. Bing bing badong, it's the Crazy Frog. He lost to Atea. Those muscles mean nothing. But he was successful in infiltrating the Incursion army, rescuing his team from Atea and the Incursions, rescuing Max from jail, saved Bill Gax from squid monsters, stopped a falling sign from crushing civilians, and then stopped a falling drill from crushing civilians. Bullfrag's pretty tactical. He had a few decent brawls, but I wouldn't really count any of these as actual fights. I would have liked to see more fights involving him. He could have been neat. Moving on to Zap Brannigan. He won against Negative Ultimate Humongosaur and Negative Ultimate Spider Monkey in a pretty impressive first scene, but that's about it. Got whooped by Malgax, and he did defeat Zescare. I wouldn't say he beat Zescare, because there was no real fight. He just made the fusion cuisine and fucking dipped. And he flew to the Rooters headquarters for a couple of frames. Blink and you'll miss it. Now we got Gut Rot. He was very promising and didn't do jack shit. Won against Dr. Animo and Future Animo, but lost to Mutated Kevin, and then lured some Waybats to Rooters HQ. Really creative power set. 6 out of 10 design. Barely any screen time. Sorry, Gutty. They did you real dirty. And for our last contender, we have Vampire. He won against Exoskull and Subdora with the aid of Skird, but I think he could have done this on his own. But he lost to Lord Transil and Malgax. That he also needed Skird for, but he couldn't have done that on his own. Though he was successful in capturing Zescare's team and then escaping from the Anor Transil civilians. He's Vampire, alright. This is indeed Vampire. Ah, we made it. Sweet. One final thing I want to say, and I wanted to save this for the end of the video, is that these are just the raw facts. It's important to keep timelines and scale into effect. Like, while Swampfire did lose to a regular hybrid, later on in his career, he defeated the top hybrid in charge of invading Earth. Or even in Darkstar Rising, the very same episode Humongosaur first loses to Darkstar, but by the end, he would have practically killed him if this didn't air on Cartoon Network. And also, some battles have far more value than others. If Ben loses to some Forever Knights in one episode, that doesn't mean he can't mop the floor with Vilgax when it counts. So basically, this is all subjective, and it doesn't really mean anything, and I just wasted my time making this. But I hope you enjoyed it. Huge shout out to Andrew Analik and Percival DeRollo in the ink cartridge tier, and Draculus, Maps, and Epicoso in the ink barrel tier. Y'all are really helping us get done what we need to get done, and we couldn't do it without you. Hope you enjoy what we got planned for the future. And until next time, keep it fizzy.